All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Harsh Talks Hockey podcast. It is now the latter half of June. The finals have wrapped up. The season has officially come to a close. What a wonderful season. I have a friend of the show, Abhinav, here again. Welcome back. What did you think?
I mean, we don't have to talk about the finals, right? No, I'm just joking. No,
Only the
man.
most important thing in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, only right. No, man. It's just besides the depressing, the depressing finals post game 3, post game 4. It was a good season. I'll say that. Not the start of the season for me and for my Oilers, but the postseason was nice. Right, we beat Vegas and Dallas, which was very nice.
Wonderful.
And
Got
man,
to
the
see Four
finals, it is
Nations
what it
this
is.
year, which was amazing. Got to see Ovi's goal chase.
Yep.
There's a lot to look back at the end
Oh,
of the season.
Hellebuck winning the Hart and the Vezina, which I think he's the first goalie to do it since Carey Price. So that was
I believe so. Yes.
Right. And McDavid getting 1,000 points. Right.
Which is amazing.
Right. That was so long ago.
Yeah, that feels like forever. Man, even the conference finals feels like forever.
Take me back to the good old days.
Oh yeah. But nonetheless, let's get into it. For those who don't know, the Florida Panthers have repeated as Stanley Cup Finals champions again. They take down the Edmonton Oilers in their rematch, but this time in 6 games, not 7. My initial thoughts are this was a great series until it wasn't. It started off, first couple of games were magic. I thought we were going to see them battle it out for 7 straight games, one goal difference in each game, potentially going to overtime like 3-4 times. I was so ready for it. But, nonetheless, as the series progressed, Florida did what Florida does best and put their foot down and took care of business in the latter half. What are your thoughts as an Oilers fan, other than just disappointment, I guess?
Disappointment, depression, sadness, whatever adjective you want. No. In all seriousness, the first 3 games were kind of close, right? And even game 4 where they made that huge comeback, but
yeah.
I mean, not the first 3 games, right? Game 1, game 2, and game 4 were kind of close, but the other 3 you just knew. I'll tell you, for me personally, when Brad Marchand scored the OT winner, that's when I kind of lost hope that they were going to win. Because
damn, what a coincidence seeing a Brad Marchand OT winner.
Oh yeah,
in the series.
I forgot. That's right. So see, now I understand y'all's pain. Now I get it.
Yeah,
but no, man, it's just I don't know, because that was such a weak goal to allow too, and then not even that, and then I forget which game this was, but Uncle Brad Marchand, 37 years old, scoring off of a face-off win, beating 2 guys, right? Just dog walking Matthias Ekholm multiple times, making Jake Wallman look like he was 35 and making Steve Yzerman look like he was right, which he wasn't, but and then yeah, man, it's just the finals is disappointing, obviously. I'm still a bit bitter that they lost, but they just lost to a better team. There's nothing more you can say, right? I thought Connor McDavid, I think, had his worst playoff series since 2022 when they lost to not 2022, excuse me, when they lost to the Winnipeg Jets in the bubble, right? I think it's the worst playoff series since then. I think besides Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard, every single person on the Oilers did not show up whatsoever, right? And this is an even sadder stat too. Did you know that McDavid and Draisaitl were both outscored when Evan Bouchard was not on the ice with them?
Oh boy!
Boy! There was also only one player on the entire Edmonton Oilers roster to outscore their opposition. Guess who it was?
Who?
Evan Bouchard. That's it.
That's the real MVP on the team. What can I say?
Hey, give him whatever he wants, man. Stan, got to work.
I'm so ready to see the Oilers core 4 of Darnell Nurse,
oh, come on,
Evan Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid with 3 of those guys making 12 plus or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know how much Bouchard is going to get paid, but I feel like it's going to be a lot, and we'll see how that goes. But like a lot of people are talking about how McDavid wasn't himself, about how the fact that this wasn't like you obviously you could tell that not having Zach Hyman there hurt them a lot.
yep.
And he would have been a real difference maker in this series had he been along, because what sets apart this series for me is depth. And this is anywhere in the league. This is by far the 2 best teams in the league, and they don't both deserve to be there. What sets them apart is the fact that we can't give Florida enough credit for the moves they made this trade deadline and for the roster they put together. Seth Jones is a Stanley Cup champion, and as a part-time Blackhawks fan myself, that was mind-boggling to see.
Right.
But he played phenomenal in these playoffs and has been arguably one of the best pickups. And then on the other side, Brad Marchand. What set apart this Florida Panthers team was that there was not a single third line in the league or in these playoffs that was doing what they were doing. There's not a bottom 6 that was putting together that type of performance. Brad Marchand could have easily won the Conn Smythe, and I would not have been surprised.
No, and you're absolutely right. It's just because it's not like both these teams didn't have depth, right? I think the Panthers, I think it was they had 19 different goal scorers. The Oilers had 20.
Yeah,
it's just one team's depth clearly was better, clearly showed up, and the other teams didn't, right? And I don't even think it's that it goes that deep. The other thing is. The Florida Panthers, what they did really well, and I think where Zach Hyman was really missed, was the Oilers forwards. They just could not get anything going because they were trying to play through the boards like they usually do, or they were trying to play through the middle. But because of how much Florida's forecheck just kept hammering them, and the fact that
they choke up the neutral zone too.
Yes, the only besides Hyman, Vasily Podkolzin, and I guess a Kapanen and Arvidsson to a certain extent, right? That type of game is not really what the Oilers forwards do, right? And they tried to play Florida's game, and they lost. And they also got suckered into the dark arts a little bit, too. I'm not going to act like the Oilers are some, angelic team. They're not. I thought Evander Kane, honestly, I'm a big fan of his in terms of how he played. I thought he had a great playoffs until that point. I think he was the worst player in the entire series.
Yeah. And that's how the Panthers get you. They will. The problem is you can't let them. You have to dictate the level of physicality in a series, because if you let the Panthers do it, they will drag you in at their advantage.
And you can't take dumb penalties either, right?
Absolutely.
Look, I can say anything I want to about how bad the refs are. We all knew and all that, right? But at the end of the day, I've said this before, if you're in a position to let the refs decide the game, you already lost. And the second thing is, besides the cross-check on Gustav Forsling, every single penalty Evander Kane took in this series he didn't need to take it, right? Most of them were high sticking calls. He got a slashing and a game misconduct, frustration penalties. Exactly, right? It's just and again, are the refs going to miss a call here or two? Sure, but at the end of the day, if you're letting them decide the game, you already lost. And I thought this was Evander Kane's worst. I think he was the worst player in the series. I don't know what to say. I was so I didn't expect it to be that bad. And a guy who was so good for them in this playoffs just turned into complete garbage and a net negative, right? And the guy who I think their forecheck affected the most was Matthias Ekholm, because he did not look like himself in this series. If you watch him this year,
most of the series.
No, he looked terrible, dude. I thought the only Oilers defenseman who looked somewhat competent was Evan Bouchard, and even he after game 3, or not game 3, sorry, game 4. Even he was terrible after game 3, after game 4, excuse me. So no, they just lost to a better team. I can't even be that upset about it, right? They just lost to a better team.
Yeah, that's honestly fair. We obviously can't, talk about the Oilers without mentioning Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. I don't know what this was gonna be like, because heading into Game 5, I fully expected them to stick with Skinner and then maybe go into game 6 with Pickard. I don't know, man. Like there's no definitive number one option on this roster. And if you're having to doubt your goaltending this far into the playoffs, then it just shows what type of goaltending you have. But like break down what the Oilers situation was in net.
Sure. I'll put it this way, right? I didn't think Stuart Skinner in game 4 deserved to really get pulled, right? I know people will say, yeah, you need a big save every now and then. I get that. But if you look at like his entire playoffs, his XG was actually exactly 0, right? Which isn't good. And Calvin Pickard, I thought they might have won game 4, but it wasn't because of him. Calvin Pickard was terrible in that game. Yeah. Right? He looked like a drunk uncle when he was trying to make a save on what ended up being Sam Reinhart's game tying goal. And the entire goaltending, it's just such a mismatch. And I think it was Vasily Podkolzin. He did an interview. He basically talked about it, right? He said the quiet part out loud, which with the Panthers, their defensemen, besides Seth Jones, no one really contributes offensively for that team. They don't really rely on their D for offense a lot. But their defensemen and their forwards can just play freely in front of Bobrovsky because they have a trust of him and they know that he'll bail them out, right?
And he did.
Right. And he did, absolutely. I think he finished with like a plus 11 expected goals overall, something crazy like that. So like at the end of the day, with the Oilers, they don't have the belief in either of these guys really that they're going to get that big save. And you can just see it in the way they play, right? If you watch the Dallas series, for example, where Stuart Skinner was on his game, right? Yeah. They were playing so freely and like relaxed, right? Which is when their game works the best. And their zone entries were under control. They didn't take dumb penalties, all that. Yeah. Whereas in this series, where you have an opponent which is just as good as you, you can tell they don't have any faith in their goaltending. And every single, it basically, like you saw it, right? Every single pass was a little bit sloppy, right? Every time McDavid tried to go 2-on-1 with the guy, he'd take one step too many. And all of those are just like small mental mistakes. So I just feel like neither of them were good enough. And I thought going to Calvin Pickard in game 5, I understand why they did it, but I don't think in retrospect, right, it wasn't the right call because he was terrible in that game too. Like a lot of those goals, especially both Brad Marchand goals, that should not be going in. And just to finish off, right, and all credit to Sergei Bobrovsky, played above his head, made the saves he needed to make, and bailed them out when the team got messed up, right? There was a couple plays where Aaron Ekblad got dog walked by McDavid. Didn't matter. Sergei Bobrovsky made the save. We never heard about it again, right? Yeah. And the Oilers, they just have not been able to get that from their goalies, right? Both guys finished under 900 in this postseason. Yeah. Like, when's the last time a Stanley Cup finalist had goaltending this bad?
Not that I can remember.
Exactly, right? Not in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's just it, man. It's just neither of these guys were good enough, and something's got to change because they've ran this for 2 years in a row now. Yeah. And you can't have this level of inconsistency. Like with Stuart Skinner, this guy will be Dominik Hasek in one game, and he'll be Swiss cheese in the next. You just never know what you're going to get. And
you ready for Ken Holland to trade for Stuart Skinner?
Hey, Kenny, do us a favor, buddy. Trade for Darnell Nurse. But yeah, that's not going to happen. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I thought, like, I know I am going a bit long here, so like I thought Chris Knobloch also had his worst series as a coach. Yeah. Because he's somebody who's known for having good adjustments, right?
Yeah, like, and it seems like he's gotten this team to buy into a system that should be able to, work for this type of roster.
But not this series. Like this, I thought when he scratching Kasperi Kapanen, I believe it was in Game 5, was just that decision didn't really make sense because again, he was one of the few guys who was actually contributing a little bit on the forecheck, right? The fact that Evander Kane wasn't benched for a game and he just stapled him to the fourth line, where he's not going to, a guy like that is not going to do anything for you on the fourth line, right? So if you're not going to play him, you might as well actually scratch him to properly send a message, right? Yeah. Continuing to play Nurse and Kulak together when that pairing was not working, right? Putting Troy Stetcher into the game only playing him for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first series I've seen, at least since he's been here, where Chris Knobloch was just thoroughly outcoached by Paul Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just, again, they just lost to a better team in every facet, right? There's nothing like, that's pretty much all that happened. And I can go into more detail, but like, we'd just be beating a dead horse by that point.
Yeah, and that's fair to say. I think the only thing that really stands to be answered now is where do these teams go from here now, right? Like, I think the main question for Florida is Bennett and Marchand. Can they get those guys back alongside Ekblad too? I think those are massive pieces for this roster, and I trust in Bill Zito. Coming to figure something out, because he has shown time and time again that he can put together good deals and good moves.
Yes.
I think it's a little more complicated on the Oilers side.
For sure.
What do you think their top issues are heading into this offseason, other than just like the overarching extension for McDavid? Because I think that'll be a topic of discussion heading into next season because of the comments he's made and because of his contract situation. But other than that, what do you think the roster should be looking towards addressing in these next few months?
I mean, I'll just quickly do a quick summary of what I would do, right? I think the first thing they need to do is get younger and get faster, right? And they have some guys internally who can make that jump. Like, I think Victor Arvidsson, there's been a talk, it was on 32 Thoughts just today, where he wants to move, and the Oilers want to move him. So he's a guy that's probably going to get traded. I think Evander Kane is almost a certainty to be gone just because of his cap hit. Yeah. And then Jeff Skinner, I don't think he's coming back either. So they need to get some cheaper, faster guys on the wings and play Matt Savoy.
Of course. I would love to see him get a bigger role on this roster.
This guy was literally building a lab to play with Leon Draisaitl, so I think he's somebody that can come up. Noah Philp is another person who should be on the fourth line center role, because they don't have a right shot center. I don't know if you've noticed. And even Trent Frederick re-signing for 8 years. I know 3.7. I'm assuming it's 3.75 because Saravalli said anywhere between 3.5 and 4. Mm-hmm. So just taking the middle of that, I don't hate that contract personally. The term is a bit rich, but that's what a third line guy is going to end up costing in a couple of years anyways. And to be fair to Trent Frederick, he had the same injury that Leon Draisaitl had in 2022. Yeah. So I don't think we've seen anywhere close to what he can actually provide. And again, an American player wants to re-sign long-term in Edmonton. I think you make that deal 10 times out of 10. And in terms of Evan Bouchard, I will give him whatever he wants, because this guy's the best defenseman the franchise has had since Chris Pronger. You don't give that. You don't trade that guy for anything.
And this is a proven playoff performer. He shows up in the big games.
He has. I mean, the only person I can think of genuinely in the past 3 years that's been a better playoff defenseman than Evan Bouchard was Cale Makar when the Avalanche won the Cup. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And again, he's the only person in this series who had a positive goal differential. So right. So I don't think that's somebody who, if you can sign him long term for 10 million, I think if it's 10 million, you do it. You don't think twice. And then goaltending, obviously, Jake Allen's a free agent, so that's a possibility. Ideally, the trade guy would be John Gibson, because I don't think they have the assets or the money to get anyone else. Yeah. And Anaheim's willing to retain, so.
Knowing where the Oilers are at in their team's chemistry or however they're built, knowing what point they're at in their careers with this roster, right? I try to go for the best possible goaltender you could find, because seeing how close you are consistently getting, right, and how goaltending's clearly one of the biggest flaws. I'd say that if you want to reverse course on that, you want to try to find as best of a goalie option. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but if I'm the Oilers, I should be looking at, star goalies that you could try to maybe move, For sure. It looks like a bit of a stretch, but trying to go for Jussi Saros would be huge on this on this roster.
Jeremy Swayman, I've heard also.
Jeremy Swayman, like Allmark and Swayman were both goalies that were available to be moved at some point. So
right,
those are the types of goalies that I think if I'm the Oilers, I should be looking for, because you don't want to miss this opportunity and try to go for like a slight mediocre upgrade on Skinner. I think you should try to go for as big of an upgrade possible. I don't know if John Gibson's the guy for that.
I don't think the upgrade should be on Skinner though, because the thing with Stuart Skinner, if he's a 1B, I think he'll be fine. Because again, like the thing with him too, he's like 26. He's 26 years old, right? He's already had 3 full seasons, and this year wasn't great, but he's proven that he can be a decent enough starting goaltender. So I think if you basically do what the Leafs did with Stolarz and Wool, not to the same extent, obviously, like those two are better players, but if you can run some sort of system like that, where you have a guy
upgraded net, but have Skinner as a formidable 1B.
Exactly. So upgrade on Pickard, right? And Pickard, you can just put him in the minors, or if someone claims him, it's $1 million. Who cares?
Yeah, it's not an issue.
Like that's pretty much what I would do. Yeah. But like you said, there's not a lot available in free agency. Like Jake Allen's the best guy there.
Yeah.
So who knows what they do? But I think I think you have to upgrade on Calvin Pickard, and you have to upgrade you have to just make the forwards faster and a bit more not just physical, but like edgy,
playoff performers.
Yeah, because you don't just want to get a bunch of goons in the bottom 6 who can't score either, right?
Yeah.
Someone for example, I think bringing back Kasperi Kapanen, I think is a no-brainer just for how good he was.
And he had a great playoff too. Yeah. I think Kasperi Kapanen is. This was someone whose career was essentially dead in the water, and the Oilers revived him.
And I think even if they assigning a right-handed D, like I know Dante Fabro's available. I checked his AFP analytics. He'd be available for around like $4.5 million. That's his projected contract. I think a guy like that would just add more to this. And it's just an upgrade on John Klingberg, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So then you have 3 guys. So then you have three guys who can all play on their strong side, and you also have Brett Kulak now, who you can move as a trade option, right? But that's what I would do. But let's see what Stan Bowman does.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where this team goes in the offseason.
That's true.
But that's sort of just the picture of what is sort of their offseason priorities, because when you look at where this team is at and what the immediate future holds, I don't care whether McDavid is interested in signing an extension in season or not. Yep. You try to run it back with this team until the end of the season, and then you figure out what happens off season 2026. Because this is a good enough team that can go back to the finals. This is a good enough team with the right tweaks can potentially win a cup again, considering how close they were. And they are by far the best team in the West right now. And they will... You'd be foolish to try to move off of a star player just because you're doubtful about their career, their future here.
And like even with McDavid too, I'll be honest, I'm not worried about what he said, because Draisaitl said the same thing last year. He re-signed for 8 years, and I'm just thinking, and I think it was Bob Stauffer. He said it on Spin Chicklets, right? Do you really think Leon Draisaitl would sign for 8 years if Connor wasn't staying?
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't know if he's the only question for me is just how long the term will be. Unless he if it gets to training camp and he hasn't signed an extension, then I'll start to worry. But until then, I don't really think any Oilers fan should be stressed at all.
I wouldn't even be stressed if he walks into free agency without a contract, because I still think that until he wins one here, there's no interest in him leaving. And I don't see anywhere else that would give him the opportunity to be the player that he could, unless he takes a significant discount to go.
Which he's not going to.
Team. I don't as much as I'd want to see him in a Leafs jersey. I highly doubt that's going to happen, especially with where the team is at right now. I don't see any other really big market teams trying to go for a guy like him. Maybe Chicago can throw money at him if they have the cap space at that time and try to do something there. But realistically, if I'm the Oilers, I wouldn't be too worried. And if I'm McDavid, I wouldn't see a reason as to why I'm leaving Edmonton. I would stay there as long as I can until I win something for that city.
And he's not like he's not like a guy who's like a super big personality. It's not like Connor McDavid is going to be out here doing more red carpets and commercials and all that, right? Like, so like
I doubt he's trying to go play for the Rangers to go live that lifestyle.
No, exactly. And like the main part of it too, I think, is just where I don't think there's anywhere else he can realistically go where he has as big of a chance to win as he does here. Here as in Edmonton. And the other part of it too is just the only thing for me, if I'm an Oilers fan, that I'm thinking about is how long he signs for. Because I think what he's going to end up doing, which Judd Moldover has done with a lot of his clients too, right? With Austin Matthews famously.
Matthews as well as signed the bridge deal.
Like the 4-year deal.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, like I think he'll sign like a 4-year deal, probably like 15 or 16 million, I think is what it's going to be. Which, I mean, is it high? Yeah, but it's Connor McDavid.
It's McDavid. He deserves like 20, and it still would be underpaid.
So like so I'm not too worried about that. But what about for Florida? Which of the three do you think is staying?
I honestly, and this is where it's interesting for me. I think Ekblad's the one that goes.
Yeah, same here. You saw the speech.
I think that's where you go. You've clearly seen that Seth Jones works, and he could fill in for Ekblad.
Yep.
You can't let Bennett go because if I'm and this isn't on the Panthers, this is from the perspective of Bennett. I don't think he can do what he does in any other market or in any other or with any other team. I think he has thrived, but he can only thrive in this environment with this roster. And Brad Marchand, I think he just found himself to be very happy in Florida and enjoying his time there. Like the fans love him. Yeah. I don't know how much of the post-Cup celebrations you've seen.
All of it. I've seen all of
those guys. I feel bad for their livers right now. Like I don't know how wasted they've been for the last 4 or 5 days or whatever. Like these guys are partying everywhere and having such a wonderful time. So I think that's what keeps Brad Marchand around, because I think he's the type of guy to take a discount to stay in Florida.
Right.
And on the Bennett side, it's just like I don't see him doing what he does and playing the way he does on any other team. And I think those are the two guys you probably will do everything you can to keep.
Plus, he said it.
And if Ekblad walks, he walks.
Yeah, and the thing with Aaron Ekblad for me, like I don't know if you saw all of their like post-Cup speeches at the 11 nightclub in Miami, great venue for those who haven't been. It's a great venue. You should always go.
I haven't been to Miami, but I've heard it's one of the premier.
Beautiful place. But like, if you listen to their speeches and you just listen to like how these guys are talking, Aaron Ekblad seems like the guy who's going. And if it was me personally, I would have tried to keep Bennett and Ekblad, and because I thought what Marchand would do would be like, the old guy who signs like an overpaid contract for an up and coming team, right? Similar to what like Alex Killorn and Radko Gudas did in Anaheim, something like that, or like Tyler, or like even Tyler Toffoli when he went to San Jose. So I thought that's something that these guys possibly could have done, but. But like after seeing just how everything is, I agree with you. Just for like contract predictions, I think it'll be like an 8x8 for Sam Bennett, somewhere like between 7.5 to 8 million.
Yeah, I'm giving him like 8.5 tops.
Yeah, like you shouldn't give him more than that. And the only person who would be mad at that contract is Darren Ferris. Which
but that's Darren Ferris isn't happy with
exactly.
He wants to create a shitstorm in the media anytime he can.
I wonder he's gonna have a fun summer, huh? But like, I think Bennett stays on an 8x8. Marchand's probably gonna take like a 6x4, something like that, and then they'll have enough room to, because they'll also be able to promote someone like Sam Balinskis full time. I apologize for the siren in the back, but that's just I think that's what's just gonna end up happening.
Yeah, and that's sort of it. Like for me, the question remains is, what's stopping us from seeing these two teams in the finals next year again? Like realistically,
injuries, probably.
I guess injuries, maybe just like wear and tear on their bodies from 2 deep runs. But like on paper, roster wise, I don't think there's a big outside of Marner. Obviously, I don't think there's a big enough free agent or unless there's like a super blockbuster trade that comes out of nowhere. I don't really see there being a move big enough that shakes up either of these conferences to knock Florida or Edmonton off the top, right? Like
Right.
I don't think there's any team in the West that could make a big enough move to sort of take over from the Oilers, and I don't think there's definitely in the East. I don't think there's anyone who can make a big enough move to try to take over from the Panthers. So like the question remains is what's stopping us from seeing these two teams in the finals again next year?
Oh, nothing. And just to rub a little bit of salt in the wound, Anton Lundell is signed until 2030, where he is set to be 28 years old, and make his big contract. Guess whose contracts are also up in that year?
Who's?
Sasha Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
So Bill Zito, I don't know how this guy didn't have a job for so long, but he should be. If he doesn't win GM of the Year, the award's
he was in Columbus.
Yes, not just in Columbus. He was a finalist for the Edmonton Oilers job before Ken Holland got it.
And look how that aged out.
So great.
Yeah. I keep thinking back to this, and a couple of people online have brought this up. This is all Pittsburgh's fault at the end of the day, isn't it? like
if they just beat the Blackhawks.
They had to win one game against a really, really, really bad Blackhawks team.
Not just bad Blackhawks team. This is the one that people don't mention. Even before that, they had to beat a Columbus Blue Jackets team, where some of these guys were in the ECHL just 2 weeks before, because that's how injured they were, and they lost that too.
And you like that mixed with Keith Tkachuk calling the team weak. Yep. You put such a this was like the rock that like in the alternate timeline doesn't get moved, right? Like 100%. A puck goes the wrong way, and who knows what the last 2 years of history have taught us, right?
Oh yeah, it's just, and this is credit to one more person too. Credit to Paul Maurice too, because he's a guy who I feel like got a raw deal in Winnipeg, because of like all the friction between Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, and just all the stuff that was going on at the time, right? And then before that, when he was in Toronto, where he got arguably some of the worst goaltending any coach has ever gotten.
Those are the dark days of the Leafs, bro.
Oh,
those teams were just bad.
Like the Vesa Toskala years, for those who don't know, this is a guy who got a raw deal for so long, and just look at how much his legacy has changed, right?
He has been a coach for so long.
Yeah. So, and not just that, bro.
Yeah.
Paul Maurice has the record for the most losses by a coach in NHL history.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody's ever going to bring that up again because of how good this run was. And credit to him.
How dominant this team was.
Yeah, credit to him, because his style works, and every single one of the guys on the Panthers is dialed in, and they're all buying into him, right?
These are players that bought into that system, and these were players that were meant for this system.
100%.
And it's a testament to the Panthers organization, because it clearly shows that this was from the bottom up and from the top down, like a combined effort to make a genuinely winning team.
Right.
From the owner's office all the way down to like equipment staff, like everyone was in on this. And
yes.
And it doesn't matter if you were a first liner or if you were a call up.
Yep.
They put together a system and a formula that worked perfectly, and that they executed to a T.
100%. And it's just every single part of it too, right? Because we always talk, people talk a lot about growing the game and all that, and I know people want to blame the state taxes, which again, if people really think that, then I think it's just a cop-out, because Florida's been tax-free for 30 years, right?
And that's, they haven't been a contender for that long.
Dude, there was a point where the Florida Panthers were on the Arizona Coyotes level of relocation rumors every year.
Oh,
right?
100%. And we've seen those clips of like the building being
500
dead
fans.
and empty with like 5 fans in the stands, and the Panthers being like the nobodies of the league,
exactly,
and whatever, and having all 6 fans all the time.
Right, and they turned that around. Like, credit to Vincent Viola, the guy who owns the Panthers, and just everything that they've done in Fort Lauderdale too, just to like make, because now it's a place where players want to go there, and they want to go there because not only can they win, but the off-ice treatment for them has been really well too. Like last year, both Kyle Okposo and Vladimir Tarasenko were specifically requested to go to the Panthers. This year it was Brad Marchand, and with Seth Jones, he said he wanted to go to either Dallas or Florida.
Yeah, which are two very similar markets in the sense that they're both Southern Sun Belt.
And they're well-run organizations.
Well,
right?
exactly, with great ownership, great
Yep.
management, and great coaching. And who doesn't want to play in South Florida? Like when you're a millionaire, that's like one of the best places to be.
Exactly,
is
right?
South Florida. Like you get to go down to your steps away from Miami or from the heart of all the energy, so you could enjoy the party, but you could also be laid back and avoid all the hype and attention that comes with playing in a more traditional market as well. So you get a bit of the best of both worlds.
For sure, yeah. Like, I mean, I'll admit, I personally think the whole pressure thing is a bit overblown, but
Yeah.
like, just you get all the benefits of that, but the main point of that is it's not just because they're a tax-free place or because of the weather and all that. It's because it's a well-run organization, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think that's the lesson that every other NHL team, should take from how the Panthers were built and how well they've been run, right? Because every single aspect of the franchise is bought into being a first-class organization and winning and all that. And that's like the ideal way to run a team. And do they have their advantages? Sure, but everybody does, right?
But yeah, everybody has their
like everyone has something that they can offer. And at the end of the day, they're marketing what they have the best, and people want to come there. Like, who did you ever think Brad Marchand was going to go anywhere in his career?
No, he was going to retire, Bruin, but
Exactly.
nonetheless, I guess they were able to work something out, and he ended up not only going to a contender, but actually being a meaningful impact on that team.
Absolutely. Nate Schmidt, too, revived his career.
Yeah, exactly. And these are just guys that seem to work for them.
OEL did it the year before.
Barkov. He's a baby Barkov.
Yeah, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson did it the year before, right?
Exactly. They made Vlad Tarasenko work. They made Okposo, like you said, work. This is a team where, like, and the crazy thing is, in these playoffs, it's not like Matthew Tkachuk was an absolute dog in every series. It's not like Barkov was a world beater in every series. It's not like Reinhart. Like, of course, that last game was great for him.
Right.
It's not like Reinhart showed up like a 60-goal scorer. Or it's not like, their stars were out of this world. But as a team, they bought in and their bottom six stepped up big time and did what very few teams in this league can do.
No, absolutely. Like, for that second line, the main play driver wasn't Matthew Tkachuk. It was Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
Right? And even for the first line in the Leafs series, I mean, you can attest to this too. Matthews was killing Barkov in those two games.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. What was so frustrating is the fact that the matchups, the series fell apart for them was when they started playing the Lundell, Lustrine, and Marchand line against the Matthews line, because that's when it opened up a lot more and gave the Panthers a lot more flexibility. But here's the thing. You can do that when you have that type of depth. They can make those types of matchups because they trust those guys.
100%.
Our third line was Domi, Lawton, Lorentz at times, and I don't think that goes up against Lundell, Lustrine, and
I mean,
you can't match that up. That's not fair.
Right. Like our third line, it was like Jeff Skinner, Adam Henrique, Trent Frederick, which this is how bad the Oilers were in game 5 and 6. That was our best line. If you look at the expected goals, that was our best line.
Man, you guys really needed Zach Hyman for that series. That's so unfortunate.
But credit to the Panthers, man. Just credit to the Panthers and shout out to them for the way they're celebrating, because the NHL needs more of that, right?
Yeah, they need more personalities like that. And good on them. Let them have the time of their lives, especially someone like Brad Marchand. He worked his ass to get here.
Sam Bennett too, man.
Yeah, Sam Bennett too. These are two guys that at times looked like they like. You remember Sam Bennett and when he was at Calgary?
Oh, he was Daryl Sutter would bench this guy because of how bad he was.
Yeah, right.
And again, Sam Bennett was also the guy who in Calgary, he was very good in the playoffs, but again with the Flames, he just didn't fit there at the time. And you know what the Panthers got him for? They got him for a first-round pick and Emil Heineman.
Oh, my goodness. Emil Heineman.
And I think I forget who the first-round pick ended up being, right? But clearly not somebody important if I don't remember his name. So, like, it's just they found the right guys in the system.
Looking back at this Panthers team, like, they just made all their moves went in the right direction. Like, the Tkachuk trade at that time was it was a
ballsy move.
It was so questionable at the time. And to be completely fair, I wasn't as hard on the Panthers as many others were, because I was like,
Mhm.
Matthew Tkachuk's a solid player. I think they got a great return for
Right.
someone like him. But Huberdeau was coming off his best season yet.
115 points, the most by a left winger since Luke Robitaille, I believe.
Yeah, and this is like, to make that type of move is insane, but it paid off. It was like, I want to make a comparison to basketball. That was similar to like the Kawhi trade. You trade your
100%.
franchise superstar for something that you might not even know works, but it pays off with a championship.
Right. And like,
Mhm.
it's just, I mean, we can go on and on, right? But I guess
Yeah.
to just close this a little bit,
Yeah.
when you run your organization well, you hire the right guys, you hire people who are forward thinking too, which this is a guy who's not really going to get a lot of credit, but Sonny Mehta, he's one of the main analytics guys in Florida. He used to be a former Edmonton Oilers blogger.
Yeah.
And he's a blogger and a computer scientist. He's a guy that was brought in to basically run their analytics team.
Mm-hmm.
So again, right, hiring people like that, hiring like someone like Roberto Luongo to be around the guys essentially, right?
Yeah.
And like work with their goalies and to work with their goalie coach. And then again, Bill Zito with the job that he's done, hiring Gregory Campbell for reasons. We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, again, when you make the right moves and you run your organization well, these are the results you get, right? And I think we can wrap it there on the Panthers.
Yep. I think that sort of wraps it up. Congratulations on a fantastic season for the Panthers.
Yep.
Let's look at some more recent news. I want to before we get into the Ducks and all the other stuff, I want to talk about one of the things is Dallas not having enough cap space to sign anyone, so they moved off of Mason Marchment and they were able to sort of get back. I believe it was Maverick Bourque they re-signed.
Yes, it was Maverick Bourque for $950K on a 1-year contract.
Yeah,
and it was
traded Marchment for a fourth and a third to Seattle. Which, if I'm Seattle, I love this move. I love this move for Seattle because they got him for nothing, and that's the type of guy they need. A tougher guy who could give you like, Marchment's what, a 30-goal scorer, I'd say. He's like
between 25 to 30 goals, 60-ish points. Yeah, something like that.
And what's his cap hit right now?
It's I know this off the top of my head. It's $4.5 million.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm the Seattle Kraken, I'm very excited for this move.
And again, if it doesn't work out, you can just trade him at the deadline, half retained, and get the exact same.
It's not like you guys are doing much anyways, right?
Right.
But if I'm Seattle, this looks like a solid move for me. On the Dallas end, it just seems like they have a lot of guys to sign and not a lot of cap space. So I'm really interested to see what they do this offseason.
For sure. And again, with Jim Gill, right, re-signing Maverick Bourque on a 1-year deal, I think was a smart move because, I mean, we were just talking off air. Like, he's a guy I think both of us thought was 100% going to get hit with an offer sheet. And then, again, even Nils Lundqvist, just giving him one more shot, $1.25 million is not a lot of money.
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things.
That's going to hurt even less.
Exactly. So I think they still have moves to make, obviously. They have guys to re-sign. Oh, we didn't even mention Matt Duchene. For $4.5 million, re-signing him on a 4-year deal, which I think it's good value personally for Matt Duchene. And it's just, let's see what they do next because they still have some guys they need to get rid of for cap reasons, right? Like Dumba and Lyubushkin. Yeah,
those will be interesting to see too. But that's just one move that they've done that I think is really interesting.
Right.
Moving on, I want to talk about the Ducks because they've been on the move. They acquired Chris Kreider a while ago, and now they've gotten
Ryan Poehling.
Rid of Trevor Zegras. So let's talk about the Kreider move first of all. What does that add to their team?
I mean, Chris Kreider is a guy, to borrow a phrase from Steve Dangle, good players don't forget how to play hockey, but their body just isn't the same as it was. And with Chris Kreider, he was very, very injured this year. Excuse me. Like, you can just see it in the way he was playing. And as someone who's watched a lot of Chris Kreider over the years, he's not going to be the same. He's not going to be like a 50-goal scorer or even a 40-goal scorer, right? But
he never really was. He was a high 30s, and
he's hit them before, but that's not consistently what he does. And I think just getting some more like veteran, proving NHL guys for the Ducks is a good move because, questionable past aside, and aside from the fact he should actually be in the NHL, but he's in there right now. Like, we can't change that. Like, I think Joel Quenneville, just purely as like a hockey mind and a hockey coach. He's one of the best coaches of all time, and he's definitely going to be an upgrade over Greg Cronin. They also and getting a guy like Kreider, like Ryan Poehling, who was good in the bottom six, and mainly guys like Jacob Trouba, some re-signing Frank Vetrano, I think, is something that people don't really talk about, but he's someone who's also like a big culture guy in that room. Just getting some veterans to play with these young guys to actually take a step, right? It's a good right. It's a good move, and they have no risk because even if it doesn't work out, they have $30 million in cap space. Who cares?
And
right?
and they're gonna take a swing at Marner for 100%. Sure, 100%.
Like Marner, Nikolai Ehlers. I thought Aaron Ekblad possibly. I mean, I don't think Anaheim needs any more like old right-handed defensemen. But if you want to complete this, if you want to complete the set, right, you got Radko Gudas, Jacob Trouba, Aaron Ekblad.
Might as well, yeah.
Right. So I think they're in a very, very good position right now because again, Dostal and John Gibson have both played really well.
Yeah.
And they're forwards. Now you have some guys like who you can put up in the future. And this is a bet, I think, on Leo Carlson more than anything, because this will really show how much they believe in him now that they got rid of Trevor Zegras, who I think it was just time.
Yeah. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about it'll be interesting to see what the Ducks do this offseason with all the cap space they have and how young their roster is. Obviously, Zegras wasn't working there. I'm fascinated to see how he does being reunited with
Jamie Drysdale.
Jamie Drysdale. Imagine Torts was still on that team and he had he had these two guys on his roster. He would lose his mind.
Torts. Just imagining a line with like. I don't know who their center is. Like Owen Tippett, Zegras, and Matvey Michkov.
Yeah.
Oh man, and John Tortorella is the coach. It seems like a mismatch made in hell. But
that is
I think it's a good move for Philly too, right? Because it's a buy low. Like let's be honest, they're not giving up a lot, right?
No, absolutely.
And I think Philly's also a team which they kind of need to show their fans that they're trying to make a step for the future, right?
Absolutely. And now you have a clear guy in Matvey Michkov that you could build around and sort of try to see what type of core you can get around him going.
For sure.
And this is sort of going to be your franchise centerpiece. So it's interesting to see the types of people he gets surrounded with. I think Drysdale's a solid option.
Right.
And I think Trevor Zegras could have – the change of scenery is going to be good for him.
For sure.
With it being Philadelphia, who knows? Because that fan base is crazy. That city is crazy about its sports. But nonetheless, like it'll be an interesting sort of addition to the Flyers roster in their pursuit for the future.
Right.
Yeah. The next thing I wanted to sort of move on was, and I think this is bigger news than it's been made out to be. They've released Olympic rosters, and I've been looking forward to this for a while. I didn't think they were going to do it this early for their top six. So the countries that I have off the top of my head are Latvia, Finland, Sweden, Canada, the US, Czechia, Switzerland, Germany, and Slovakia, I believe, and Denmark. Yes, Denmark and France, actually, while we're at it. But all of these rosters have released their guys, their top six guys for the Olympics. Anything stand out to you there?
I mean, not really. Like I just like mainly the ones I know off the top of my head are like Canada and the US, right? I mean, Canada, I'm just reading the names right now. Tell me if any of these are remotely surprising. Sam Reinhart, Braden Point, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby.
Nope, not at all.
No. I think we're good there, right? And even with the US, right? Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy is a little bit of a surprise. I thought Adam.
I think so too. I'd expect someone like Fox or Slavin to have been named over.
I think that's more so like a health thing. But let's be honest, they'll both be on the team. Why are we worried? Sure. So like Quinn Hughes, Brady, the Tkachuk brothers, Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews. I think Matthews is going to be the captain too.
Probably, yeah.
So that's not surprising.
Do you give Crosby the captaincy for Team Canada?
100%, yeah.
Who
else would it be? Like it just feels wrong if he's on the team that he's not wearing the C. You know, like. It just feels wrong. And then even for Sweden, right? I'm just looking at the names right now. Hedman, Dahlin, Landeskog's a bit of a surprise because I didn't expect them to put him in there. And then Nylander, Adrian Kempe, Lucas Raymond. Really?
Lucas Raymond, yeah, that's another surprising pick.
I'm surprised they don't have more defensemen on here.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Erik Karlsson, I thought would be a shoo-in for this team.
I'd expect Jesper Bratt to be one of the first names that have been released.
100%. Even their centers, there's not a lot of like Elias Pettersson's not on this either.
Pettersson makes sense to some.
Yeah, he had a down year, but still.
Yeah.
Over Lucas Raymond, I think.
Yeah, probably that's an interesting one. Finland looks like a really good roster. Their first six was Raymond, Rantanen, Heiskanen, Barkov, Saros, Aho, and Esselindell.
Actually, no, that's not surprising either. I mean, some people would say Esselindell's a bit of a surprise, but not really. If you watched him play, right? It's not his fault they gave him Cody Ceci.
In terms of underrated teams, there's two that really stand out to me. Maybe three, but I'd say the two that really stand out to me are Germany with they've got Stützle, Draisaitl, Seider, Sturm, Reichel, and Grubauer. Grubauer is whatever, he's a wash.
Yeah.
Reichel is a younger option, so that's interesting.
For sure.
Draisaitl, Stützle, Seider is pretty solid.
No JJ Peterka. Oh yeah, the thing with JJ Peterka, I think he would have been on this team, but because he doesn't have a contract, they can't officially name him to the team. So I think just assume he'll be there instead of Nico Sturm.
Yeah. In terms of the other rosters that I'm really intrigued by, Czechia has a pretty good top six.
Yep.
Palat, Gudis, Pasternak, Dostal, Natchez, and Zaka.
Yeah, I mean, you probably want some better centers there, but it's not bad.
Still a great roster. Switzerland's pretty formidable too. Niederreiter, Meyer, Yossi, Hischer, Fiala, and Siegenthaler. Meyer, Yossi, Fiala, and Hischer. That's a really solid.
Yeah, it's a very good. It's a very good D pairing too, because Roman Yossi, by the way, best wishes to Roman Yossi. I don't know if you saw he got hit with the POTS.
Yeah.
So hopefully he comes back because he's a guy who everybody should love watching play.
Yeah, but, and phenomenal player for
phenomenal that. Player, yeah, and he can play his offside too. So I think him and Siegenthaler is
great. Yeah,
it's a good pairing.
Intriguing to see. And this is probably just expected, but Latvia named 2 goalies in their starting 6.
Let's see here: Merzlikins and
Seelovs. Yeah,
Teddy Bluger.
Yeah, Bluger, really? Zemus Gergensen. Yeah. Rodrigo Abels and Juvis Balinskis. I will never get that right.
He was the 7th D for Florida. For those who don't know.
Anything else stand out to you? Because this seems like pretty.
I mean, not really. I know some people will be a bit surprised that Nico Sturm's on Germany. Just assume that he has JJ Peterka's spot. The thing is, because he doesn't have a contract, they can't officially name him as an NHL player because technically he's not an NHL player
under contract yet.
Right, so that's the only thing. But none of these are really surprising. I didn't know Teddy Bluger was Latvian. That's cool to find out.
Yeah, but good for him to be there. I'm so excited for the Olympics. I cannot wait at all.
Dude, 4 Nations was just an appetizer. I think
4 Nations was 4 Nations. Unfortunately, no Russia. They would have been a really intriguing. Option. Right. I think they would have been the 3rd best roster in this tournament by
best
far.
Goalies easily.
Maybe even one of the best top 6s. They could have named. They would have had Kucherov, Ovi,
Panarin,
Malkin. That's a really strong offensive group.
A little bit of an unction, but that's okay. It's the Olympics.
Yeah, a little bit. And on the back end is where I would have been concerned for them because outside of Sergachev, I don't really know any other.
It's like Sergachev, Gavrikov.
Defensively, they're not as gifted.
Like Sergachev, Gavrikov. They're the main two that just come to mind just off the top of my head. Right? There's other people. We're just not remembering them. The only other Russian defenseman I can think of right now is Daniil Miramanov, and that's just because he plays for the Flames.
That's a name most people are looking out for.
Exactly. For sure.
Nonetheless, this seems like pretty standard
Yeah.
stuff for an Olympic roster, and these all look like pretty formidable teams. The last thing I wanted to sort of round out was, and this is a really good heartwarming story, but one of my all-time favorites, someone who I want to give a lot of credit for making me a hockey fan, but Jonathan Toews is coming back to the
Yep.
NHL, and not only is he coming back, he is coming to play for his hometown team, the Winnipeg Jets. This is amazing to see. For those who follow him on Instagram, he went to India on a healing journey, trying to sort of get back into form,
Yep.
keeping up with himself, and it's just it's a really good heartwarming story, and a really good thing to see someone
For sure.
who has had such an impact on the game in the last decade, and coming as a 3-time Cup winner to now come back home to finish off his career in the place he grew up is really impressive. So good on Winnipeg and good on the Jets for getting their hometown boy. It's just it's a really heartwarming story to see someone that I was really inspired by growing up. But
for sure, yeah. Like I mean, I have his jersey.
Guy.
Like it was one of the first jerseys I bought, so I definitely understand like the whole like sentimental value of it. And he's been a very good player for a very long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I think the real winner here is Pat Brisson, though. I mean, I just want to read this contract because this is crazy. So he gets a $2 million base salary, right? He gets a $500K play. He gets $550,000 each at 20 games, 30 games, 40 games, 50 games, and 60 games. He gets $500K if he plays 50 games and they make the playoffs. He gets $250K per series win. And if he plays in half of the games and they win the Stanley Cup, he gets $1 million. He gets $1 million. So
good on him.
All in total, he could make up to $7 million. And if they just make it to the Stanley Cup final, he'll make around 5.2. I think if they just make the playoffs, it's like 5.25 if I'm not mistaken. If my math is correct, it's a little bit off there, but shout out to Pat Brisson, man. What a contract for a guy
for him, and good on the team for bringing him back. It'll be interesting to see where he's at this point in his career, and there's obviously something to be impressed in how someone at this age is still doing what they're able to do.
For sure, and again, it's just a good story because he's going back home, and he's a guy who's like spoken a lot about being from Winnipeg and how much that meant to him. And just I don't know, it's a good bet for the Jets too because they have some cap space. And again, if it doesn't work out, it's whatever, right? Like if it doesn't work out, it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah, it's one of those buy low and you hope it turns out to be. It's similar to Max Pacioretty,
right? I mean, they're not buying low, but I don't know. Like the contract's a bit crazy. I'm a salary cap guy. It's just how I think. So I think that's why that's where my focus is heavily. But it's just I don't know. Like it's not a bad bet for the Jets, right? Because they've needed like a 2C or a 3C for a while. So like hopefully what they can probably do is just have Taves take a lot of the D zone face-offs, and they can use Nemesnikov for the O zone face-offs. But again, they just have another guy who they can put in the middle, right?
Yeah. So that's a great story.
For sure.
I guess this sort of wraps up everything that I wanted to cover. Unfortunately, the NHL season has come to an end, so we won't have any hockey to watch until October. I don't watch the preseason. I could care less about the preseason.
I'm not watching the preseason.
To be completely honest. So, we will continue to put out more stuff for free agency and the draft, and it doesn't seem like as exciting of a draft class as the last few years. So,
right.
We'll see how that goes, but I'm interested to see where free agency goes, and most importantly to follow the top names, to see the Marner sweepstakes, the Ehlers sweepstakes, and see where those guys land. But we'll have more coming out on that part. Then.
Just on a Russian defenseman real quick, Ivan Provorov is one.
Ivan Provorov, there we go.
I'm just going through Puckpedia. It's like you said, man. It's been a really good NHL season, right? I think just as a whole, the season's been fun. Four Nations was amazing, and something I've seen just like a bit anecdotally. I don't know if you've seen it too, but it feels like hockey this year just felt a lot bigger in terms
Oh
of
yeah,
like the
100%.
mainstream
Yeah,
and more people like watching it, asking about it. And I think
and that's
whatever we
great.
can do to grow the game is
Yeah.
always going to be better. And especially like even the whole Amazon Prime deal, right? I think
That's great. And I don't know if you've seen but they released some of the names for the second season of the Face Off Amazon show, and there's some really intriguing
like
names
really,
on that.
really quickly if you want to go through it.
Yeah.
So
Um
I'll just quickly rattle off the names. Like Sidney Crosby is being announced, which
Perfect.
I mean we don't know anything about the guy, so I think that's going to be interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, I think they're just doing it like a bit more team by team this year. So like Miko Rantanen, Thomas
Hmm.
Harley, and Wyatt Johnston, all from the Dallas Stars.
Hmm.
That's going to be like really interesting. With Miko, it's going to be fascinating just because of how much he's been traded and everything.
Yeah, and seeing those moves.
Right.
Matthew Kachuk is going to be fun to
Yep.
watch.
Yeah, winning the chip again. Brady Kachuk's going to be there too. So seeing
Yeah.
their relationship,
Hmm.
Zach Werenski and Sean Monahan, I think that's going to be the episode where we need the tissue box,
Yeah,
right? Get
absolutely.
the tears out.
That'll be interesting to see.
Uh,
Seth Jarvis will be.
Seth Jarvis, Quinton Byfield and Anze Kopitar is going to be a cool one in
Yeah.
LA.
The Marc-Andre Fleury, that might
Yep.
be another,
This
for
one's the
different
most
reasons.
fascinating to me personally.
Yeah.
Brendan Shanahan.
No, that's the one I wanted to bring up. Obviously,
Like,
that'll be the one to see because, first of all, the Leafs don't really give access like this ever to the
right.
media, for players. But on top of that, for an executive to be on this
Exactly.
show is going to be
And
really
someone as
fascinating to
like
see.
divisive as Shanahan too, just with like everything that he's done in Toronto and how long and for how long he was there and just I mean the guy has like a Hall of Fame career and all that. Oh, and William Nylander we forgot to mention.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. But Nylander's coming back.
Nylander was like made for this show. He was
Yeah,
that episode with him
yeah,
and Pasternak was so
yeah.
good.
Both of those guys were good, were players
Amazing.
meant for this show.
And yeah,
I'm
I think it's
surprised it
gonna be
isn't
good, man.
spread out as evenly as I'd hoped. I was hoping, having 3 stars players is fine, but like
Right.
you'd like to get I would have liked to see maybe someone from Utah there, obviously, for like
For
that
sure.
first season. Trying to maybe get like Logan Cooley in there would have been great to see.
Dylan Gunther would have been a great ad because he has like a
great.
good personality too.
Yeah.
Like, and with Thomas Harley, this is like people aren't really gonna bring this up, but I hope they have cameras with him when he got the call for Four Nations.
Oh, that from what I've heard, there will be Four Nations content.
Awesome. Because
Yeah.
and even for this Stanley Cup final, I don't know if you've heard it. I think it was James Duthie who said it. This one was like known to be like way more personal and like way more like, just like ruthless, let's just call it, right? Than like in previous years. Like the trash talk was really, really, really bad this year. So I really hope that we get to hear a little bit of that. And
It'll be and knowing how good the first season, and Amazon's done a really good job with their content for hockey, but it'll be really fun to see how this turns out.
I just hope this is just a personal thing. I just hope we don't get another episode like the Quinn Hughes, Jack Eichel episode where they just talked about how important it is to be a captain and all that. Like less of that. But other than that, I thought it was a really good show. And I don't know. I'm just fascinated to see what Shanahan's going to do because I think this is the first time, even besides like the Hard Knocks series, where we've actually gotten like an executive as like a main character in a show like this. And Amazon has full editorial on this too. Like the NHL told teams they're not allowed to say no to anything besides team meetings and stuff being filmed.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fascinating.
This will be really good. And Amazon, they know what they're doing when it comes to content. And this is what the NHL needs. This is the type 100%. Of stuff that gets people excited. I really want to see what goes on in Shanahan's head, especially because we know this season he was going to be on the chopping block. We know the whole Marner coming up dilemma and just the energy behind it. Because when they did the other Amazon Prime series for Toronto,
it was so like scripted and fake. You know what I mean?
It felt like the Leafs didn't want to give them anything, right?
Like, so the only authentic thing in there that I remember was like when they were basically just like trashing on Jimmy Vesey when he got claimed. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
they're like where Shanahan was like, "Oh, someone actually picked him up," and then I think like Nick Foligno like talking about how much it means to like play at home and all that. But like Aside from that, I don't really remember much from that series.
It wasn't as memorable of a series,
No.
and it clearly showed that the Leafs were controlling
100%.
what they wanted to give and not give. But it'll be fun to see how things turn out here.
Oh yeah.
I would have hoped to maybe get OV or into this because that would have been a really fun,
Because like one thing I think like would be really good for if they had Ovi in here. Say like instead of someone like a Seth Jarvis, like no disrespect to Seth Jarvis, but like I don't know, there's not much there, right? Like with with all these other guys, there's at least like
Seth Jarvis. I think is just an entertaining guy. That's why. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Like someone like someone like Ovi, right? If they put Ovi, they could have had an episode where Ovi and Crosby, they put them in like they basically have both these guys go to a restaurant, have a meal together, and just like something like that. Like basically just like their version of the Nylander Pasternak episode.
Yeah.
Right. Not the same story, obviously, right? But just something like that where it's like these two guys who've like been pitted against each other their whole career. Just it would have been a cool story. But yeah, I mean, the cast looks interesting, man. Like it's more people than last year, so, and I think that's also going to be a good thing because it's less individually focused on certain guys.
Yeah,
and they don't have to be like the center. Like some guys were made for this, right? Like Matthew Tkachuk last year. Just I don't know if you remember this scene, but you remember, but like it was like the Oilers all being like super intense, and then when they introduced Matthew Tkachuk, it was just him swimming in a pool,
just laid back in his Florida mansion.
Like it was. Like and he was made for TV. Brady's made for TV. Like
those are the types of guys who are going to make people fans. Like those are the types of guys who are going to make people fans because of how fun they are and on and off the ice, right? And having that brother dynamic makes it huge. Like one of the things I'm really interested to see is the Four Nations, but like the first couple of seconds of that Canada USA game. And how both of them, basically how that unfolded, because they were both in those first two fights.
Yeah. And no, absolutely. Like, and even like the Thomas Harley aspect of it, like I said before, right? Him basically being like the injury replacement in a way.
Yeah.
And him, because like I think like he was on vacation in like Hawaii or something.
Yeah.
And then he got the call.
Ring, Team Canada, time to go.
Yeah. And I hope this is just a hope for me. I hope they have footage of Quinn Hughes coming in and then not playing. And like, yeah, it's gonna be sick, man.
Four Nations will be absolute because most of these guys were on their respective rosters.
I think it's gonna be I hate to use this phrase because of wrestling, but absolute cinema.
Oh, 100%.
I'm hyped.
Yeah. And you were right about hockey feeling bigger. Like even on social media, like House of Highlights is like you could tell they have a very strong basketball bias, but they were giving hockey the love it needed. Bleacher Report, ESPN, Sports Center, they were when the Panthers won the cup. I saw like 6 consecutive posts from ESPN about them winning the cup, and that's something you never would have expected them to see,
Like I remember when I first started watching hockey, like it would be a miracle to even see like 1 or 2 clips, unless. And even now, like, there's more players that people actually know, right? Like, as someone who was just recently in America.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
No
got a case of the Sam Bennett in there. But, there's more people that guys know, right? Like, I heard Nylander's name, Austin Matthews' name mentioned, where previously the only hockey player, like, people really know, it's like Crosby, Ovechkin, or Gretzky. Right, so like it was just cool to see that just from like an anecdotal perspective, and man, I'm hyped for this show. I'm hyped for the off season. I'm hyped for next season, and the NHL. It might be the worst league in terms of the people running it, but no matter what, the product doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, but that wraps up our episode for today. It's been a fantastic season. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in throughout the season. We'll have more to go. And we'll have free agency and draft content before we take a break, before heading into the new season, where we'll do hopefully some more season preview content then too. Yes. But nonetheless, thank you again for being on the show, Abhinav. I'm sorry.
Thanks for having me.
Didn't go your way.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This feels like therapy,
Yeah, no, 100%. Me too. I could talk about hockey for 10 more hours if I needed to. But nonetheless, everyone who has watched and tuned in and followed the social media and helped us get on YouTube, thank you very much for all the help. I will see everyone on the next episode.
Yep. Mitch Marner, baby.
Yeah, Mitch Marner. Let's see how it goes. But nonetheless, goodbye, everyone. Till next time.